How difficult is it to qualify for the U.S. Open?
You know, it's pretty difficult. There's two qualifying sites that you have to go through. There's usually one here locally. So in Oak Hill and Oakmont, there was a local site here in Syracuse.
Okay.
Once you make that, you go to the sectional qualifier, which consists of 36 holes in one day. So it is a little bit
that's
of
a lot.
It's a little bit of an endurance test.
Mm-hmm.
But you're young and you're trying to get in the U.S. Open, so
You have adrenaline rushing.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that usually, 110, 120 people for 8, 9 spots. So it's
Oh wow, that's very competitive.
It's competitive. You certainly can't sneak into the U.S. Open. You have to play pretty well.
Right. And then there's the preparation just to qualify, and then you make it in the tournament. So what sort of preparation did you practice for the actual tournament itself, and what advice would you give us amateurs if we have a big match ahead of us?
Yeah, well, in both the U.S. Opens, there were two different situations for me. In '83, I was actually on the PGA Tour, so right after I qualified for that, I was off to another tour event. So I had 2 or 3 tour events to play in leading up to Oakmont.
Right.
In '89, I was in the working world, went to qualify and made it, and so that was a whole different gig, if you will.
A whole different mindset, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I had not been in a real big competitive arena. So that one was a little more stressful than the one at Oakmont, because Oakmont, it was what I was doing for a living, and it was not just another week. I was very excited because it was the U.S. Open, but a little easier because I was kind of in the circus, if you will.
Right. You were in a good routine and you could go.
Yeah.
I think we all just want to know, what was it like playing in the U.S. Open? Did you have any superstitions? Did you follow a specific routine? What made it different than some of those other tournaments that you were in?
What made it different was the Open itself. I mean, it's such a big event. So as exciting as every tour event was for me, you went to the U.S. Open, it was a tour event on steroids. I mean, it was big. And it was Arnold Palmer's home. I was paired behind Arnold Palmer, so the crowds were just gigantic. My mother got to come down and watch, which was really great.
Nice.
My wife was then fiance. She was down. A lot of people from Syracuse came down to watch. The driving range is full of all the stars of that day. So I think the excitement is ratcheted up a lot.
Right. So the vibe there, did it seem like everybody was in competition mode, or were they more just everybody's happy to be there? What was the atmosphere like amongst the players?
Yeah, well, it's competitive. Again, I was in a different situation. I was 23, still 23 years old. So for me, I was kind of wide-eyed looking around, seeing Tom Watson or Jack Nicklaus or Seve Ballesteros. So, probably not the greatest mindset to do really well in the Open, but just 12 months earlier, I was in college, and here I am at the golf's biggest stage. So
what a dream.
For me, I was trying to do well. I was hopeful to do well. But, I was kind of wide-eyed. Yeah.
Right. I'm sure that in that experience, the pressure can mount and build up. Do you have a go-to shot when the pressure was super high in that moment?
Well, I do kind of remember my opening tee shot in '83. My college roommate, who was a good golfer, caddied for me. And I remember Arnold Palmer had just teed off, so the stands around the first tee were just jammed.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember it was hot, I was sweating, I was a nervous wreck, but trying to play cool.
Right.
And I do remember hitting my shot and not seeing the golf ball. Because I went over to my caddy and I go, "Where did that go?" And he goes, "Oh, it went right down the middle," which
so
was
you just
pleasant
blanked.
surprise. It's really the only shot that I think I felt that nervous in my life was the opening shot of that particular tournament.
Especially with all the crowds and everybody around you, I'm sure it's so much energy.
I don't mind playing. It's kind of what we play for, is to play when you're nervous. But it was kind of an extra surge when it was the U.S. Open.
Right.
So,
were you able to kind of then settle in and focus into your game as you progressed? Or did the nerves did they stick with you the whole time?
The nerves, I played the first 4 holes of that tournament and didn't miss a shot. And I was 4 over par after 4 holes. And I told John, I don't know if I'm going to break 90 today. Because I hadn't missed a shot yet.
Right.
But I couldn't make a par. And then it turned around for me. And one of the great thrills of my golfing life was on the 13th hole, I actually chipped in for a birdie to get back to even par for the day. So I had played 4 under for those holes. And I was going to the 14th tee. I looked at the leaderboard, and it had Ballesteros, Watson, and Roy tied for the lead at even par. So
Ah,
I have the picture at home, and
that's a
so
great
I can
moment.
say I led the Open for about 5 minutes.
It's something that will go down in history. Like,
Yeah.
you tell your kids, your grandkids.
At least at my household. History.
Yes. Other than that 5 minutes when you were leading the U.S. Open, what was your most memorable shot, your most memorable time there?
Well, I do remember specifically the ninth hole the first day. The ninth hole then was a par 5. It's a par 4 now.
Okay.
Because the guys just hit it so far now. But back then when we played with a lot of golf ball and wooden clubs, it was a pretty long hole. So I remember getting on the green in 2. Now at Oakmont, the putting green and the ninth green is all one big green. So you'd have other competitors warming up for their round, and then, the green. Then I would be playing the actual tournament. And I actually got it on the green in 2, and I had a 40, 50-foot putt for an eagle, but it had to go over these 2 big humps that's characteristic of Oakmont greens. And I remember seeing my fiancée, Cheryl, my mom, they were right in the front row, and the galleries, it was just huge. And I hit this putt, and it seemed like it took a minute to get there, and it went in, and the roar it was something I had never heard before.
It gives you chills.
Yeah, I got chills, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I could never really dunk a basketball, but I might have been able to at that point.
Who did you look at? Did you look at your mom and your fiance like, did you see that?
I did, I think, once I got the ball out of the hole, and
Yeah.
I was just kind of on the side of the green waiting for the rest of the players to finish. And I was trying to, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool because it was just I had never heard a roar like that for me.
Right.
And it was just great. A lot of fun.
That's a cool experience.
Yeah.
What was the course like? The U.S. Open is being played at Oakmont. You've played a U.S. Open at Oakmont. What can we expect for course conditions? What do you remember the course like?
Well, it's one of the great courses in the world. It's known for its greens.
Mm-hmm.
They're very undulated and extremely fast.
Okay.
Faster than most of the players that are going to be playing. They're not really accustomed to that kind of speed.
Right.
So that's going to be a big adjustment for them. Providing they don't get a bunch of rain or something like that. And then the USGA, when you play in a major championship, this kind of rough we see here is nothing.
Right.
Compared to what it is in an open. So, precision off the tee. They're going to have to be great around the greens, and then come Sunday, they're going to have to be able to handle the nerves and
right, and putting it all together.
What the possible great outcome could be.
What do you think the hardest hole is at Oakmont?
For me, 1 through 18. But let me think. That's a good question. 16 is a really demanding par 3. 18 is a demanding par 4 off the top of my head. And there's number 1 is great. To start off, it's a very long, just a dead straightaway hole, which sometimes are the hardest ones when there's no curve to it. But really, every hole out there is really challenging.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you think the Open is won and lost at Oakmont?
The greens and being able to handle mentally.
Right.
You're going to get bad breaks. You're going to get bad lies. You're going to have to deal with adversity. That's what the USGA wants these pros to do. So it isn't just bombs away down the fairway. If you hit it 4 yards offline in the rough, it could be easily like a one-shot penalty because of the severeness of the rough.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we want your predictions now. Who do you think? What players do you think will be on looking for the hunt?
Well, I mean, you got to go with kind of the guys that are hot now, and certainly Jason Day. Jordan Spieth is a great putter.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suspect we'd see him. He's the defending champion. Rory McIlroy. Now, there always seems to be kind of a U.S. Open type player, too.
Okay.
That seems to hit it in the fairway an awful lot. Adam Scott. I mean, he's a great player. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Any dark
I'm trying
horses?
to think of short hitters, but there is no short hitter on the tour now. Jim Furyk, Zach Johnson. How's that? Those are a couple of veterans that really understand the pressure.
Right.
And they could certainly be there at the end.
When you watch a tournament, I feel like it's probably different than when we all just watch a tournament for enjoyment. What do you look for when you are watching a tournament, like the Open?
Well, I like to see what shots the guys try to play at certain times. you know, certainly when it really looks like they're probably nervous, you know, maybe their pin's tucked on the right-hand side, and, you know, are they going to take a chance and go for that pin, or, you know, are they going to just play more conservative?
Right.
So for me, I kind of look a lot of times
At the strategy.
At strategy.
Yep.
How they handle themselves. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and I kind of feel for them because I kind of know they've done everything right, but it just didn't work out.
Right.
So I kind of look at it that way. Yeah.
That's great. Not only have you had an incredible career, but you're an excellent teacher, and I know you teach here a lot at Bellevue. So you probably see some common faults that us amateurs have. What do you think is the most common problem you see, and do you have a good tip for us?
Common problem. I would say that most amateur golfers try too hard to get the ball in the air. So because of that, they kind of lift up a lot.
Right.
They don't really take divots, and you know, and don't, they kind of trying to help it all the time. So, you know, a lot of times I'll draw a line on the grass, and I want them to be able to take practice swings and take divots in front of that line. So being consistent where the club enters the ground is a common denominator of real good golfers. And then the less skilled golfers, if I can say it that way, you know, don't bottom out the club the same place enough.
Got it.
Okay, so yeah, it's basically being able to make contact, take a little bit of a divot, and swing to the finish. You know, people get very ball oriented instead of having the ball get in the way and you finish.
And you,
yeah.
Will you take us up to your practice spot and show us a couple swings?
Sure.
Great.
Sure. Absolutely.
So run through this for us. This common mistake that you see people make, what is your tip? What is your piece of advice for us?
Well, like I said before, the biggest thing I see a lot is people trying to help the ball in the air.
Right.
And we really want the club to do the work. Okay, so I have just a little station here where this club is running perpendicular to my target line. So I've got the ball on this extended line.
Right.
So ideally, I want you to
stand.
stand.
I'm going to stand off to the side.
So ideally, we want the divot to happen in front of the golf ball. So just making practice swings, hitting the ground in front of this imaginary line will get you in the habit of bottoming it out at the right place. All right? So I have an 8-iron in my hand here. So it's the same thing. I'm trying to swing right to a full finish.
Woo! Golf clap.
If you come back here, you'll see that the divot started in front of this imaginary line.
That's great. And now, the other thing that we talked about was that go-to shot when the nerves are high and you need a shot that you can rely on, that is your shot, it's the one that you're the most confident in.
Yeah.
So tell us a lot about that moment.
Yeah, and most of the pros have them, okay? For me, it's trying to keep the ball pretty low. You know, I figured if it gets on the ground, there's not a lot that can happen that goes wrong. So it's kind of my variation of the Tiger Stinger. You know, Tiger Woods used this shot a lot.
Yep.
I do it primarily with a 3-wood off the tee.
Okay.
All right, so I try to hit it fairly low, get it on the ground, you know, keep it out of trouble, hopefully.
Right, out of the trees.
So if you want, I can hit one.
Let's see it. Okay.
All right. So the goal here, like we said, is to kind of keep it in play. I don't swing as hard as I would maybe if it was, you know, I was trying to get maximum distance here.
Right.
So basically what I do is I choke up a little bit on the club, and for the swing, I'm really not trying to make that big a swing, but the key is my finish is going to be a little abbreviated because I don't want the ball to go way high. I want it to be more of a line drive kind of shot. Okay? So, 3-wood. I don't use a tee for this shot. Try to keep the swing a little bit abbreviated and smooth.